Hello friends, good to see you again through this video today. And today I wanted to share something which could be important for you and me and also useful for us. So when we do something in our life, right, people will pass on comments or people will give their opinion or their views about it, right? So when you categorize comments, there can be three types of comments that we can encounter today. The first could be an encouraging comment, like people will appreciate you for what you have done, and they will encourage you to keep moving forward, right? That is one type of comment. And then second, we have this constructive criticism. People will constructively criticize you for the reason that you have to still improve or you could have done better. So that is also good because it helps you to grow up, right? That is the constructive comments are also very good. There is a third type of comment which is called the negative or the critical comments, right? Many times in this world we find the critical comments are are in more percentage in a person's life than the other two comments, right? Whether it's constructive or encouraging comments, many times we receive the critical or the negative comments for the most part of the life. And when we do something right, it really takes the joy away from us when we start to receive a lot of negative or the critical comments. It brings down the spirit of the person, or it really takes away the joy and happiness from a person because they are not able to enjoy what they have done because of those negative comments. And that is why today I wanted to share how we need to ignore the negative comments that comes in our life so that we can keep marching forward, so that we can keep moving towards the goal that God has set for you and me in this life. When we talk about, as I said, these three types of comments, right, especially ignoring the negative comments, I want to share a story from the Bible about this man called David, right? So we know David, as a young man, he faced Goliath, right? He faced Goliath and he was able to, claim the victory over him. But before he went to that battle, before he, stood up and faced the giant Goliath, he had to go through a series of negative comments. And how he dealt with them, and he just ignored those negative comments, and he was able to move forward and claim that victory over the giant, right? So that is what we are going to take as an example today, so that we will also in our life today, when we face negative comments, we would be able to ignore them and keep marching forward. So if you read in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 26, this is what we see. Where David was coming to this battlefield because his brothers were in the battlefield and they were fighting against the Philistines. And at that time, David's father sent David to give some bread and other stuff to his brothers. So he came to this battlefield, and at that time he first encountered Goliath, right? So Goliath was threatening the army. And every day he used to come out and ask one person to come and fight with him. So that is what happening on that day too. So immediately when David saw Goliath, this is what his response was. He is saying like this: "For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" So David had that zeal or the passion for the Lord, and he could not stand that one guy is coming and cursing about the Lord. So he wanted to encounter him. He wanted to do something about that situation. So as he was talking about this to the fellow people over there, so immediately his elder brother, whose name is called Eliab, so if you read in 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 28, we see his elder brother Eliab came there, and he was very much in anger with David, because he said, "Why have you come down? And with whom you have left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your presumption and the evil of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle." He started to just belittle David, right? Or he started to just become so negative on David just for the sake of, seeing David in that place. So David was kind of offended, and he says what did I do? I didn't do anything. Why are you simply coming against me? What wrong thing I've done? But then David did not give in to that kind of negative comments or negative things that his brother said. Instead, he then went to the King Saul. So now King Saul is asking, "Are you sure you are going to go and battle, or you are going to go and face this giant Goliath?" And David says, yes, I can do, because I have already killed a lion, I have already killed a bear, so I can definitely do, so you don't need to worry about it, just send me. He is asking. So even at that time, King Saul is saying like this. If you read in chapter 17, 1 Samuel, verse 33, he says, and Saul said to David, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are just a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth. David is saying, Saul is saying to David, you are no match to the Goliath, so you don't take a risk, you cannot do this. So, again, the second time David is now encountering a negative comment, like, that, what he wants to do cannot be accomplished. So then David convinced Saul, so Saul eventually sends out David to face Goliath, right? And then what happens, the moment Goliath saw David coming up against him, now Goliath started to mock at David, because this is what we read. If you read in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 42 and 43, this is what he says. When the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and handsome in appearance. And the Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Goliath, the giant Goliath, started to really make some these kind of unwanted comments or negative comments on David, and he wanted to create some sense of fear upon him, right? But on all these three instances, when David's brother said that you are not supposed to be here, when the king Saul said that you cannot do this, and even when Goliath said that he is going to be killed, right? Like he's going to be killed and be fed for the birds, David did not give up, right? David did not allow all these negative comments to enter into his mind. And that is when he knew, he declared. This is what he declares now. If you read in 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 45, we read, then David said to Philistine, you come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. And then he says, for the battle is the Lord, and he will give you into our hand. See, this is the confidence he had. He did not worry about all the negative, comments that kept coming at him, but rather than he knew one thing, the Lord is always going to be with him, and the battle belongs to him, and he will definitely, do it for him. See, that is the confidence today the Lord is giving to you and me also, my dear friends. When we read the book of Philippians chapter 4 verse 13, it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Which means the Lord who is willing to strengthen you and me today for everything that he has called us to do, he takes the complete responsibility. So all we just need to do is, when negative comments come against us, as we saw, Eliab was his own brother, but still he was, belittling him, right? The same way, even when we walk according to the direction of the Lord, or when we want to do something God has called us to do, sometimes even our close relationships may be against us, or they may tend to belittle us, or they may pass a lot of negative comments upon us. But we just need to keep ignoring all those negative comments. And at the same time, right, sometimes as a king, Saul said, this is not possible for you. Even sometimes the authorities or the rules may look like for us, it is not possible for us to move ahead. But the Lord will definitely make a way, because he who has called is faithful to, complete everything, because he takes responsibility when we just obey him and move forward in his direction. So today, that is why I wanted to give you this suggestion and from this passage, so that for you and me in this life, when we face negative comments, when we encounter negative comments, we just need to ignore those negative comments, because they will definitely rob our joy, they will rob our peace, and more importantly, we will waste a lot of unnecessary time and effort in order to convince people, right, who keeps on giving us the critical and negative comments, because you can never satisfy those critical, judgmental people. So we need to know one thing for sure: if God has called you and me to do something, he is the one who is going to provide us with the strength. He is the one who is going to provide us with the, grace to do it, right? So as long as his word says that, in Psalm 32 verse 8, I will give you the direction, I will give you the instruction, and I will guide you, and I will give you my counsel, right? So that is how God wants to lead you and me in this world. So just ignore the negative comments and keep moving forward in your life. May the Lord bless you. You all have a blessed and a happy day. God bless you.